I don't know if you know this, but when you don't have time to read the Washington Post, you can listen to it. Almost every article has a listening option. And right now, you can become a Washington Post subscriber for just 50 cents a week. It's an incredible deal. Stay on top of what's happening by signing up at washingtonpost.com/pod. That's washingtonpost.com/POD.
Deciding on what to listen to is hard. Using Zumo to stream music from iHeart 90s radio is easy. Or play iHeart Country or Hip Hop Beats. Your choice, all for free. Stream easy with Zumo Play. Get live and on-demand entertainment with no logins, no signups, no accounts, no hassle. This November, get cozy and stay in for movie night with Air Force One starring Harrison Ford and Glenn Close and The Art of War starring Wesley Snipes. All streaming free on Zumo Play. Go to play.zumo.com now. Life is hard. Zumo is easy.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Chris Merrill in for Mo tonight, KFI AM 640. Listen anytime on demand on the iHeart Radio app. The pandemic hit and people turned into drunks. Two things that we could do during the pandemic while we were locked down. One, make sourdough. Two, drink ourselves into oblivion. Be honest. Did you at any point during the pandemic day drink? Fellas, you want to get in on this? Did you day drink at all?
It's like a rhetorical question.
Yeah, okay.
Nah, I really didn't because day drinking puts me to sleep.
Oh, right on. I'm not going to lie. I was doing a lot of shows from home, and sometimes a friend of mine used to visit. Quite the gentleman was Jack.
Attaboy.
Yeah. So, listen. Got me through some shows. Had to relax, right? Get through the pandemic. And besides, it's radio, right? I mean, we're basically still living in the world of Mad Men. So, a lot of people took up imbibing a bit, stress-related drinking. We saw that happening. There was actually an increase in alcohol-related deaths. And now, according to the Annals of Internal Medicine, researchers found that drinking has increased and persisted since the end of the pandemic. I think that probably comes as a surprise to no one. CBS had the story on that.
Lady Warnicki has been sober for 4 years.
I was under the false belief that it's what I needed to relax. Alcohol was the cure for a bad day, or what you used to celebrate. The more I used it, the more I wanted to turn to it.
The 40-year-old mother of two says things got worse during the pandemic.
It seemed like more and more people were drinking more than ever. So it was kind of more permission, or it validated what I was doing.
New research shows alcohol use increased among adults during the COVID-19 pandemic and continued through 2022.
Originally, the increase in drinking was due to social isolation, disruption in daily activity, and general lack of accessibility to healthcare and mental health care during a really stressful time. However, we're seeing that these trends are sustained, meaning that either people don't know where to get help, they don't know that they need help.
Dr. Divya Ayala with Thomas Jefferson University Hospital says more patients are coming in with alcohol-related health problems like severe liver disease. The study also found the increases in alcohol use were higher for women.
I think on TikTok and Instagram, we talk about drinking wine as mommy juice, and it's become a very socially acceptable way to deal with life.
I'm a present mom. I have tons of...
It's not just acceptable. We've sort of gotten to the point where it's almost it's like a badge of honor. I mean, there was a Saturday Night Live bit. Did you guys see this? A.D. Bryant was having a party or something, and people kept bringing her gifts, and they were all those goofy signs you might get at knick-knack shops or whatever, and it said a wine a day keeps the children away or something like that, right? And it just kept getting more and more insane. It had to do with her drinking. We've gotten to the point where there's a certain, kitschy pride in drinking, especially when it comes to wine. And look, we were even joking about it here, about how I got a friend named Jack, and he's quite a gentleman, right? But it's become this weird socially acceptable thing. And I have to be a little bit careful how I phrase this, because I don't want to I don't want to betray somebody's confidence, but I also want to be able to share with you a story. I have a close relationship with somebody. I'll say that. I have a close relationship with somebody who, it was fun. We're going to go out. We're going to do some shots. Hey, come on over. We'll tip one back. And then I found out after years, I found out this person had a real problem. And I didn't pick up on the signs because it was always kind of a life of the party thing, right? I look back now because this person is dealing with it. They're in a program now. And it was a really tough thing. In fact, I've got two people come to think about it. I had another friend who, we have a group of guys that meets up in Las Vegas every year. And this guy couldn't go with us. He is the life of the party kind of guy. And he couldn't go with us because he had to do a detox. And of course, we were giving him grief because it was a group of 10 guys, and you know how guys are. We're like, come on, you can't do that. Why don't you detox after you get done with Vegas? This sort of thing, But the reality is, I kind of felt that, and I feel guilty myself that I was an enabler along the way and didn't recognize that these people were in over their heads. Because when you're hanging out and you're having a good time, everything seems fun and. Right? We're all getting along. It's all very social. The alcohol isn't a focus. It's sort of an enhancer, that kind of thing. And it's not something I struggled with. I think I've revealed this before. I wasn't the pain in the butt teetotaler, but I was not somebody who'd ever been drunk until I was 29. And then I broke the seal and I made up for it over the course of the next 7 or 10 years. And now I have it on occasion. So I didn't recognize some of these signs along the way. And I feel horrible because my loved ones were suffering and I didn't recognize it. And so I see a story about how the drinking during the pandemic increased. And for how much of the country doesn't have a drinking problem? You got to guess on this one. If you had to guess, how much?
35%.
35% do not have a drinking problem?
Yeah.
Oh, you think 65% of the country has a drinking problem? Really?
Only based on every story that I read. I myself, look, I don't know anyone that drinks. I don't hang out with people that drink because I had a problem when I was young drinking.
Okay.
And I had a very, very bad problem. Like I was drunk every day for no reason. And when I gave that up, that kind of bites at me. So to me, I fear being around liquor and just saying
situations.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, we're just partying. No, so I stay away. So I don't see it, but every time I read it, it seems like 65% of the country has a drinking problem.
So I think that's the Summer of the Shark situation, and by that I mean when you see a bunch of news stories about drunk drivers, about something. Everybody getting busted or somebody killed by a drunk driver, or you have, a celebrity that imbibes too much and they end up in a car accident or something. It feels like it's in your face and it's everywhere. But ultimately, if we think of all the drunk drivers on the road, we've all encountered it. But in relation to how many people are actually out there, I feel like the number of people that have a drinking problem is probably closer to 5%. It's just that when you have a problem, it becomes all encompassing. Is that?
That's fair.
Listen, we can disagree on the stats. That's fine. But Tawala, you said you had a real bad problem. Did it become? And thank you for revealing that. It's very vulnerable, and I appreciate you. Did that become all encompassing in your world?
Yeah. It got to the point where I would go and get something to drink in the morning. It got to be that thing where I felt that needed to be the thing that kept me going, that kept me that kept me cool, that kept me hanging out. Yeah. But after the cool factor wore off, it became something that I needed. It became more than trying to impress friends or hang out or be the life of the party. It became something that I thought that I needed to feel good about myself and
became dependent on it.
Yeah, very much so.
Interesting. So when you walk into crafts, I don't know how many, you probably hang out in a lot of craft stores. It's probably your weekend hang, just hang over to Michael's.
Yes.
And you see all these different signs like, it's wine o'clock or whatever it is. I mean, does that register with you? Do you go, man, that's just everywhere?
No, so sometimes it is. And I think to myself, just ridiculous. And now I've become that person, like when I see or when I hear music on the air and it's talking about hanging out and drinking and this, that, and the other, I see that and shows it. I'm filled with I don't know, like kind of like a disgust. I see those things and I go, you look at this, just shoving it down our throats. I have that kind of reaction to it.
That's interesting. I'm fascinated by this. I am, because we have the story of the drinking going up during the pandemic and how it hasn't come back down. And here you are. You've turned into a total prude.
No, yeah. No, I literally have not had a drink now going on 21 years this year.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah, like I quit cold turkey at my 30th birthday party because I cannot remember it. That's how out I was. And this is like a day or so later, I'm waking up and kind of like,
this is gonna stop.
Yeah. This is beyond a problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations for recognizing it instead of getting up and saying, "Uh-oh, that's bad. I better drink some more." God bless you for that.
Yeah.
All right. I have no other points to make. You nailed it. Thanks, buddy.
Yes,
you're amazing. Amazing. So this is going to feel like a really clunky segue all of a sudden, because I'm going to go from pandemic drinking to the most amazing school lunches that are no longer available. That feels really bad for a segue. Oh my gosh.
Nah, because it in some ways it can all be bad to you. Yeah.
Okay, how about this? From alcohol dependency to carb and processed food dependency.
Boom.
Okay.
Genius.
Yeah, not quite as clunky, but
it's genius.
Still, yeah, all right. We're working on it. We'll piece something together. All right, my fat can is going to talk about something I can't put down. That is next. That felt better. All right.
Black Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.
I don't know if you know this, but when you don't have time to read the Washington Post, you can listen to it. Almost every article has a listening option. And right now, you can become a Washington Post subscriber for just 50 cents a week. It's an incredible deal. Stay on top of what's happening by signing up at washingtonpost.com/pod. That's washingtonpost.com/POD.
Deciding on what to listen to is hard. Using Zumo to stream music from iHeart 90s radio is easy. Or play iHeart Country or Hip Hop Beats. Your choice, all for free. Stream easy with Zumo Play. Get live and on-demand entertainment with no logins, no sign-ups, no accounts, no hassle. This November, get cozy and stay in for movie night with Air Force One starring Harrison Ford and Glenn Close and The Art of War starring Wesley Snipes. All streaming free on Zumo Play. Go to play.zumo.com now. Life is hard. Zumo is easy.
There we go.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
All right. So, Chris Merrill from O'Kelly. I think I said that. One of the things that I've battled my entire life is my fat can, if I'm being honest. And part of that reason, I'm convinced, and I actually saw a study on this recently that said there's no real evidence that processed food is bad for you. I disagree. I think processed food is terrible, but I love it. I love it so much. I think maybe the processed food isn't necessarily in and of itself a bad thing, but the processed food keeps us coming back for more. And that, to me, is the biggest issue. In fact, I've been dieting this whole year, and I've lost a decent amount of weight, and I feel pretty good about myself, but I've noticed that if I start to stray from my diet, all of a sudden I start to crave more. and I don't put the fork down as quickly, right? I keep having some cravings. And so this is why I'm not a big fan of the processed food, even though I'm going to hear from food people out there that say, how dare you, processed food is fine, there's no evidence processed food is bad for you or whatever. But I think it is. That said, I'm going to tell you this. I have what my office mate calls an adult Lunchable every day. He said to me the other day, what is that adult Lunchable thing called? It's just a Hillshire Farm Lunchable.
But it's like an adult version.
Yeah,
I forgot the name right now, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a cracker, it's a slice of cheese, and it's actual meat. It's not that processed chunk that you get in the Oscar Mayer Lunchables. I can put away some Lunchables, though. Man, I love Lunchables. And not only that, kids love Lunchables. So much so, they were rejoicing because 1 year ago on ABC7, they had this story.
Well, Lunchables will become part of some school lunch programs this fall. Only 2 new varieties will be included in cafeterias: turkey and cheddar cracker stackers and extra cheesy pizza.
Extra cheesy. Oh, I hate when they got fancy with Lunchables.
These are different than those found in grocery stores. The company says they have improved nutrition that meets federal guidelines for the National School Lunch Program.
All right. Meets national guidelines. Lunchables. So how did that program go over? Well, it didn't take long before somebody said, that's not good food.
This morning, Kraft Heinz says it's pulling Lunchables from the National School Lunch Program. It comes after Consumer Reports urged the government to drop the product from school lunches entirely.
That was Consumer Reports. That's legit.
We found relatively high doses of lead, cadmium, or both in all of them. And most also had phthalates, which is a chemical used to make plastic that had been linked to a host of health problems.
You ever see the study about microplastics, and it says something like 95 or 99% of people have microplastics in their system now? And there's always this little bit of me that thinks, maybe I'm special and not part of that 1 or 5% that, or maybe I am part of the 1 or 5% that don't have microplastics. And then you find out that microplastics are actually in all of the delicious processed foods that we've been eating. Yeah, turns out I'm in the majority.
Kraft Heinz bet big on its push to get Lunchables into schools, modifying the product to comply with federal guidelines. Touting
what
Lunchables.
The hell was that? Don't you love TV when they just have to throw, I pull TV stories and they have to throw some sound effect in randomly?
I thought that was you.
No, it wasn't me. Isn't that weird?
That's funny.
They went to some videos.
With federal guidelines.
Here it is, yeah.
Touting Lunchables as a way schools could cut costs, but nutrition advocates criticized offering processed, branded foods in schools. And Kraft says the demand never materialized.
Yeah, why don't they go to what we all grew up on, delicious rectangles of pizza?
It's the latest school lunch idea to face challenges.
We also need to significantly change the quality of food that kids are getting at school.
As First Lady, Michelle Obama made improving nutrition a priority, resulting in new standards in 2010. Studies showed the standards help lower childhood obesity, but many schools said the costs were too high. And one study found students were throwing away 60% of vegetables and 40% of fruits.
Yeah, that is kind of what we do as adults, too.
The Trump administration rolled back the regulations in 2018.
Because that was Michelle Obama's thing, remember? She wanted to have healthy school lunches and all that, and it was like, we're not going to do this.
But now, with Robert F. Kennedy expected to play a major role in the nation's health care, more changes could be on the way.
I'll get processed food out of school lunch immediately. About half the school lunch program goes to processed food. We're creating diabetes problem in our kids by giving them food that's poison.
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Yeah, giving him food that's poison, and then he was also bagging on Donald Trump's meals. Did you see that? And Trump's still going to make him the Health and Human Services Secretary because he said that Trump keeps putting poison in his body because he loves McDonald's. I mean, I get it. I get it. I don't even know what to do with RFK. You ever find yourself in this weird situation where RFK will say something that just sounds bat spit crazy, and you go, come on, dude. And then he'll say something and you go, that makes a lot of sense. I think he's right about processed foods. I think he hit the nail on the head. This is it's bad for us, and we're giving it to the kids, and it's bad for the kids, and what are we doing to the future health of America? I actually agree with him on that. And then he'll say, we're giving them brain worms. And all right, well, that's a little weird. A little bizarre. I just find myself so torn on RFK. So torn. How about, and also RFK is, I think, the only presidential candidate I've ever spoken to. I had a chance to talk to him last year. I did like a 5-minute interview with RFK. So, you guys are pretty close to somebody who was pretty close to somebody who was pretty close to a president. Yep. That's me. All right, how about socialism? Not like you think. That's next. Chris Merrill, in for Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on your iHeartRadio app. Mark Ronner has Lunchable crumbs on his bib.
Hey, now.
Also, Mark Ronner wears a bib.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
God, I got anxiety. I was just thinking about this. I have that week of Thanksgiving. I have to go see family. And I was just thinking, I need a little vacation. I'm kind of excited about a little vacation. And I was just thinking, but then I'll be back at work, and I have to be at work, and I'm going to get back to work, and it's going to be it'll be December, and then I got to get my Christmas present. What's wrong with me? Does this happen to you guys, where your brain starts worrying about crap that's so far into the future, and it's not like it's a problem, it's just going to happen, and you just start it's going to happen, right? And I just start worrying about this.
Yeah, like all the time for me. It's
you do?
Yeah, because it's like you think. Like you said, I try to always be prepared, and then I go like probably a little too far, and then that's when you start panicking. And it's like, this is 2 months later down the road, like you said, Christmas and New Year's and this and that. It's not, you have time.
So we got off the air last night at 10 o'clock, and so I got home and I kind of wound down, and I went to bed about 11:30, and I was thinking, okay, normally I get up about 6:30, but I want to get 8 hours of sleep. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to have to sleep a little bit late, but I can do that because I planned ahead, and I'm going to have my other stuff ready for my day job and everything, blah, 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 right? So I have to work all of these things out in my head. And then I wake up at 4:30 and I go, I have this to do, and I have that to do, and I have this to do. It's okay. I'm supposed to sleep until 7:30. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. Just go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. Just go back to sleep. By 5:30, I've fought it long enough, and I just get up. I just can't. And I can't help but to believe that screens are a big reason that we are all anxious. I believe that screens are having a pretty negative effect on all of us, and the only evidence I have is me. And so I before I went to bed, I was scrolling, and then when I woke up, I was thinking, well, I could be scrolling right now, I guess, and maybe I'll get the latest stories and blah blah blah. And I just thought, nope, it's an addiction. And I feel sort of bad for upcoming generations, the Gen Alphas and the young Gen Z. Well, the Gen Zs now grew up with phones in their hands, and I feel bad for them because they haven't known anything other than the screens. It really is the digital generation, and I don't know how they unplug. Now we're trying to play catch up by having schools ban phones while the kids are in school, and we do have some places that are trying to be proactive. Australia is looking at banning social media for people under 16.
For high school students like Zoe, Georgia and Laura, being on social media is second nature.
In society nowadays, there's a lot of FOMO, a lot of fear of missing out.
But the pitfalls are also well known.
I love the Australian accent. It's like an English accent, but with attitude.
I have a private account and I only really look at what my friends are putting out online. I know quite a few girls that I am friends with who have had very negative experiences with social media.
It can be used as a weapon for bullies, a vehicle for scammers, worst of all, a tool for online predators.
The Albanese...
Hey, speaking of scams, I got a bunch of emails today from PayPal. Have you guys seen this? It was so good. In fact, I should have saved it. I was getting, I know, I got ADD right now. Blame it on the screens. I was getting scams from PayPal, and it came from service@paypal.com. And it was saying the charge is pending or whatever. If this was not you, call this number immediately. Right? And I thought, this is one of those scams where they want you to call to say that you're being scammed. And then they go, oh my goodness, well, give us the access to your account. We'll get in there right away. I know that's what it is. But even when I hit reply, it was supposed to reply to service@paypal.com. They were spoofing that domain name somehow. I was like, you turds. This is going to get somebody's grandma. They know you're going to catch on to the fact that it's a fake, and then they basically admit this is a fake. Call us because it's a fake. It's wild.
Yeah, I was going to say, my dad has to check in with me when he gets he's gotten so many fake ones from Netflix saying, oh, your membership isn't working.
Yeah.
Can you send it? And I'm like, it doesn't work like that, Dad. If you don't pay the bill, yeah, they're going to cancel it. But if you're still paying, it's fine. So he'll always have to forward it to me. And then, you check the hyperlinks, you look at, and then of course, when you go to the email, it's 10 different numbers and symbols at Netflix, and it's spelled wrong.
Yeah. Now, those are pretty obvious. These from PayPal, because normally it's the from, if you go in there and search where it's really from, you get that. It's the XYQPR49 at emos.edu or something goofy, right? Yeah. That was not the case here. And I thought, wow, they only had, it was actually capitalization issues in the email. Otherwise, the spelling was right. And I thought, man, this is pretty good, and it's going to get some people. My wife said, send that to me, because she sends it to some guy online that she likes to listen to. I think is it Mr. Ballin? Is that right? Does that ring a bell to you guys?
Nah.
No? Okay. I think that's what she said. Anyway, this guy, he knows what these people are doing, and he records it, and then he messes with them. And, of course, he turns it into entertainment.
Oh, dang it. I can't remember his name. Yeah,
Tom Mabe used to do that.
So good,
too.
Yeah,
Tom Mabe used to do that. I know Tom Mabe had done that with scammers before and the telemarketers. But no, this guy gets the scammers, and he's got a dummy computer, and he lets them in so that they take over his computer, and he kind of describes this is what they're doing now.
Yeah, well, the one I'm thinking of is called Scammer Payback. Yeah, he uses a fake computer.
Yeah.
He sets up a fake bank account online with all the numbers.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. And sometimes, they catch on, and sometimes they know that the jig is up, and so they go, oh, you got me on this. And he just starts having a conversation. How'd you get involved in this? You go, I really needed the money, or, my buddy made a bunch of money this way, and I thought I could too. Crazy world. Okay, back to what Australia's doing.
The Albanese government wants an age limit enforced, restricting access to apps for Australian kids.
We are seeking to be the best in the world.
Although it's yet to lock in a specific age between 14 and 16 and exactly how it'll do it, trialling the technology needed.
We believe the age limit should be 16, and that's why Peter Dutton announced that back in June.
Over the weekend, the South Australian government revealed its proposal to ban social media, kids under the age of 14 the target there. The Premier today welcoming a nationwide approach.
By having a uniform rule across the country, every parent can look their children in the eye and say, it's not them, this is the law.
Oh, that's pretty good, too, because as a parent, I hate to tell my kids no. I'm like, well, but all my friends are doing it, and then I go, that's all right, your friends are losers, and then they get mad at me. Parenting is hard, but if you say it's the law, then listen, my hands are tied, it's the law. I don't know that that's going to work in the United States, though. I really don't, because there was a study out that said that even though social media, you're not supposed to have social media under the age of 13. All the social media companies have put age restrictions on things. They did a study and they found that 80% of 12-year-olds had social media accounts. So why do they think that banning anybody under 16 is going to work any better than banning people under 13? It's not. And the kids are going to find a way to have a social media account and not let their parents know about it. The only way you can do it is to not give them phones or computer access or friends, or you could lock them in the basement, I suppose. Homeschooling. Oh, maybe homeschooling with no internet. That seems, well, and there's a part of me that's very attractive. Mostly I'm just glad my kids are grown and I don't have to worry about it anymore. Because you know what the kids these days are finding online? They're finding the crazy crap, and they're believing it. Wait until you find out what they're onto. Pick and choose what you want. It's a choose your own conspiracy. That's it. Next, Chris Merrill, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the
Friday is coming, and for the adults in your life who love the coolest toys, well, there's something for them this year too. Bartesian is the premier craft cocktail maker that automatically makes more than 60 seasonal and classic cocktails, each in under 30 seconds at the push of a button. And right now, Bartesian is having a huge site-wide sale. You can get $100 off any cocktail maker or cocktail maker bundle when you spend $400 or more. So, if the cocktail lover in your life has been good this year, or the right kind of bad, get them Bartesian. At the push of a button, make bar-quality cosmopolitans, martinis, Manhattans, and more. All in just 30 seconds. All for $100 off. Amazing toys aren't just for kids. Get $100 off a cocktail maker when you spend $400 through Cyber Monday. Visit bartesian.com/cocktail. That's BARTESIAN.com/cocktail.
I don't know if you know this, but when you don't have time to read the Washington Post, you can listen to it. Almost every article has a listening option. And right now, you can become a Washington Post subscriber for just 50 cents a week. It's an incredible deal. Stay on top of what's happening by signing up at washingtonpost.com/pod. That's washingtonpost.com/POD.
Deciding on what to listen to is hard. Using Zumo to stream music from iHeart 90s Radio is easy. Or play iHeart Country or Hip Hop Beats. Your choice, all for free. Stream easy with Zumo Play. Get live and on-demand entertainment with no logins, no signups, no accounts, no hassle. This November, get cozy and stay in for movie night with Air Force One starring Harrison Ford and Glenn Close and The Art of War starring Wesley Snipes. All streaming free on Zumo Play. Go to play.zumo.com now. Life is hard. Zumo is easy.
iHeartRadio app in for Mo Kelly tonight.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Chris Merrill in for Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. Listen anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Pleasure being with you tonight. Got some feedback last night. We were talking about the UFO hearing, and I said it's a terrible idea, and I had somebody that they didn't call me out so much as they said, "What do you mean a terrible idea? How is that bad?" Let me expound on that a little bit after 9 o'clock. I was able to give it some thought, and I have concerns. So we'll dive into that here a little bit after 9 because that UFO hearing has got a little bit of chatter, right? We did that. Also, major media sale went down today. Major. According to the purchaser of the media outlet, I'm not going to give away too much here, they paid $1 trillion for it. That is coming up here a little bit after 9 o'clock as well. So as we discuss social media, and Australia is looking at a ban for anybody under the age of 16 from social media, I don't think it's going to go over. But I understand why they would want to do that because we know what the implications are, mental health, that sort of thing. One of the concerns I have is that social media is actually making people dumber. Not just because it is brain rot. That's one thing. It's actually making people dumber because they are learning misinformation and they are accepting it as fact. So if the foundation of your understanding of the world around you is flawed, what does that do to everything that you build on that flawed information? Right? It's bad. Bad deal. So here's your headline. Fast Company had it. Teens learn a new conspiracy theory every week on social media. Yet most schools aren't teaching media literacy. There are enough conspiracy theories out there that we're learning a new one every week. And if you're 14, you don't know how to sift through that stuff, right? It's one thing if I'm watching Ancient Aliens, which I love. Love Ancient Aliens. For the same reason I love George Norrie. I don't believe any of it, but I find it to be fascinating, and I love that it tickles my brain bone a little bit, right? So what about what we're seeing online as far as these conspiracy theories? Well, these are the more harmful conspiracy theories. These are the ones that are, vaccines cause autism. Don't at me. You're not going to change my mind if you're a kook who thinks that vaccines cause autism. It's just send your email to Rob Schneider. He'll listen to you. I won't. If you are exposed to these things as a teen, again, what does that do with all of the other information? So let's suppose that you are fed a bunch of conspiracy theories about vaccines, and it doesn't help that the director of the Health and Human Services is one of them, or the incoming one is. You're fed this malarkey, right? And then in your mind you go, modern medicine is bad. So not only are vaccines bad, what is the other stuff that they're telling you? Maybe I shouldn't have this. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe chemotherapy is giving me cancer, right? It's this sort of upside down thinking that gets people, right? It's this sort of thing that gets you into this mistrust of the world around you, and it actually can be very harmful. All of a sudden, you're not doing what's in your own best interest. You end up with sovereign citizens who go, I don't have to obey the laws. I don't recognize them. I'm a sovereign citizen. I saw it online. And then they go out and they spread this nonsense through the world. And then we have people who end up behind bars because they're arguing with judges about how laws don't apply to them. Look it up on YouTube. It's fascinating. It's a whole rabbit hole, and it's wildly entertaining to watch people get burned. New study from the News Literacy Project shows, again, they're exposed to a new piece of information every week. And that is problematic. Also problematic is their inability to distinguish between objective and biased information. In other words, they don't know the difference between fact and opinion. This strikes me as difficult to believe because I always got this. I remember sitting in class in 6th grade and we were doing these fact versus opinion exercises. We were trying to, we had a teacher that was saying, what is a fact? What is an opinion? And it was sort of the early on introduction to critical thinking. And it was amazing how many people didn't understand that. I had classmates that just didn't get it. And what happens is a teacher will throw something out like, blue is the best color. And students around me would say, well, I don't see anything in there that says, I think, or in my opinion, blue is the best color. It just says blue is the best color. It's stated as fact, but we know it's opinion, right? And that's because there's no empirical evidence to say it is somehow the best color, right? So it is labeled by some as fact. Now, that's an overly simple example. When it comes to these conspiracy theories online, these things start to permeate because it starts to give us junk food for our brains. I told you, it's making us dumber. All right? And so this is why you've got national governments that are saying we need to limit social media access because it's actually making people dumber. It's junk food for the brains. And think about this like other age-restricted items that we have in this country, right? Like Winston-Salem's, Marlboro's, Camels, probably what Mark used to smoke, Virginia Slims.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. They add nicotine to their product, right? That causes an addiction. Social media companies are doing the same thing. They tinker with their recipes in order to alter our brains as well. They're not trying to make us dumber. It's just that the dumber we are, the more time we spend with their product. For Metas, for TikToks and Twitters, the recipe is their algorithm. And that keeps feeding you content to make your brain release this trickle of dopamine. And dopamine addiction is what ends up leading to these negative side effects that you hear about, like loneliness, depression, isolation, all this stuff. It's also what makes our brains block out the good information that could potentially be useful. Think about it like figuring out what you're going to have for dinner, right? When you're little, you want all that fatty crap, right? Nuggies, mac and cheese, pizza, all that kind of stuff. When you get older, you know better, and you know I need to eat some vegetables. I need to eat some fruits, right? I need to get enough of the good green. And when I have enough of this and I start having it for a few days in a row, I actually start to feel the positive side effects. Foosh, this is true. You should try it. Some people figure that out. They go, okay, look, I got to have some salad. For some of us, it's because we want it to be regular, whatever. But you figure it out and you start feeling healthier and you realize I have to cut some of the fatty foods out. Some people live on Doritos and Mountain Dew for their whole lives, but guess who's healthier? It's the person that figures out I have to have some healthy stuff, not just these things that make me feel happy, right? The Doritos, the potato chips, the sweets, the sodas. If you filter out all of the proverbial information superfoods, and you're left with cravings for good stuff. If all of you had, excuse me, let me rephrase. If you take the superfoods online and you fill yourself up with good information online, you don't have as many cravings for garbage, right? When you have garbage, you want more garbage. That's where the conspiracy theories start to flourish. And that's how we end up getting dumber, which is why schools got to look into cell phone, moderation, that kind of thing. But also we have to do a better job of teaching some of this media literacy. We have to teach people how to understand and critical thinking, fact, fiction. How do we do some of our legitimate research? How do we find legit sources? These are the things that schools are going to have to do to adapt. And I'm afraid they're not doing it right now. All right. I'm Chris Merrill in from Mo Kelly, KFI, AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Remember when you used to have a radio to listen to KFI?
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
I have a way to make your morning more efficient. You can get caught up on the news in about 7 minutes. That is my promise to you as the host of the 7 podcast from the Washington Post. And in that time, I will run down 7 stories. Everything from the most important headlines to fascinating new information you might miss otherwise. My name's Hannah Jewell. Go follow the 7 right now, wherever you're listening. And we will get you caught up.
Deciding on what to listen to is hard. Using Zumo to stream music from iHeart 90s radio is easy. Or play iHeart Country or Hip Hop Beats. Your choice, all for free. Stream easy with Zumo Play. Get live and on-demand entertainment with no logins, no sign-ups, no accounts, no hassle. This November, get cozy and stay in for movie night with Air Force One starring Harrison Ford and Glenn Close and The Art of War starring Wesley Snipes. All streaming free on Zumo Play. Go to play.zumo.com now. Life is hard. Zumo is easy.